This guy, John Medina, brilliant man. Go watch this video. I told you that in the last video. This is attention, brain rule number 4. We don't pay attention to boring things. He goes into the brain science behind it. I'm not going to. But I want to talk about some other things. We tend to want to multitask. We like to try and do lots of things at the same time. People put it on job descriptions as like, you should have this skill. We really prefer people who know how to multitask, and multitasking is not a thing. I just keep wanting to say it's bullshit. Pardon my language, but it's not. No one can multitask. So stop pretending that you can. As soon as you stop pretending that you can multitask, you're going to get a heck of a lot more done in life. So for every additional project you take on, depending on the study, you will see there's somewhere between 20 and 50% loss in context switching. So John Medina says there's 50%. If you do the exercise that I showed you in the other video, you will see that it is actually 50%. You do lose pretty much 50%. Some people come up a little bit better than that, but 20 to 50%. For the rest of this little chat we're going to do, I am going to use 20% because I want to be conservative. So if you only lost 20% of your time in context switching, then this is how it would happen. And context switching can mean multiple things. It can mean multiple projects, that you are working on multiple projects. So your boss or your organization has assigned you to multiple projects. I know when I was doing project work, I was on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects, literally, at a given time. And that's just crazy. It's not really possible to do that kind of work. And I'll show you why in the next page. It can be working from home. As you can see, I'm working from home, but there's nobody home right now. As soon as my family gets home, it becomes impossible to work, and I have to go somewhere else to get anything done. It can be checking your email. So shut off your email and don't let those things bother you. Turn off your phone, because the buzzing and beeping gives you, every time you get a buzz on your phone or a like on your Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform, you get a hit of dopamine, which is great. Makes your brain go, ooh, I like that. I want more of that. It's highly addictive. And that's why these are so dangerous. If you watch a video by Simon Sinek, I'll link up the video by Simon Sinek. Let me write that down. He talks in that video a lot about how bad it is for our brains and how dangerous it is for this coming generation. People are going to have a hard time because our brains are so hooked on this dopamine, and it's here, right? I'm staring at the phone instead of staring at the people across the table from me. Now, I'm not one of those that's going to go that says, well, all phones are evil and blah 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 blah. People, and then people will show the newspaper, right? Look, here's the ad of the picture of all the people on the subway looking at their phones, and here's a picture of all the people on the subway reading the newspaper. See, it's the same thing. Not the same thing. Newspapers don't give you a hit of dopamine. They don't have the interactivity that your phone has that gives you a beep, a bing, a ding every time you get a new like or somebody comments on your whatever. They are different. So recognize that, please. 566 times. So there was a study that showed that when we sit at our computers typically on a day-to-day basis, we task switch up to 566 times. Imagine the amount of time lost every time you do that. So what is context switching? I've used that term a few times. When you get in the zone, and the zone is this idea where I'm sure you've experienced it, where you're doing something and you're focusing on it so hard and so intently that everything else kind of goes away, and you don't notice that there's other people in the room. You don't notice that there's anything going on. Just like the time goes away. You look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I skipped lunch. I didn't even realize I skipped lunch. That's being in the zone, or what Nihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book called Flow, calls flow. That's the idea. When you get in that flow, you are hyper productive. You are much more productive than just your day-to-day, every moment productivity. And when you switch out of that mode, there's a period. Think of it as a crossfade between two pictures, like on in a movie. This scene has to end, and this scene has to start, and it's that crossfade time that is, it's neither one nor the other. So you're context switching, and that's the lost time. And when you really get into flow, it takes a little bit. You have to get your mind going and it's like starting a locomotive, right? Got to get the wheels going and get the wheels going. And then eventually they start going, and the momentum of the locomotive keeps it going as much as the energy of the locomotive keeps it going. But to begin with, there's a lot of work involved. So that's important to note here. All right, next slide. So if it is only 20%, and I'm lowballing, it is only 20% lost, and I'm optimistic about this, then here, this chart shows you your loss for every additional project. So if you're at work and your boss says, and you're doing 2 projects right now, you can conclusively say 20% of my time, Mr. or Mrs. Boss, is lost, is context switching lost time. I just moving from this project to that project, and it's lost time. Now, that's not including the time that you spend doing other things, like going to meetings and updating your TPS form, doing time sheets and whatever other, all staff meetings, miscellaneous stuff, all the stuff that you have to do in a job. This is just the work. So 20% is lost. So that means you're really only able to give 40% or 40%. So when someone says you're 50% on each of these projects, baloney, you are 40% on each of these projects, because 20% is lost. Now, they say, oh, can you take a minute and work on this 3rd project, please? Okay, now you've lost another 20%, not of the whole. So you can see the math that doesn't work out that it's a whole nother 20%, but it's 20% of the 20% it's 20% of the 80% that was left there. So I didn't overshoot this. I didn't say, oh, another 20% of the whole. No, but you still then only have, what is that, about 22% per project. So you've gone from 40% per project to 22% per project, not 33% per project like they think you're doing, 22%, 21%, something like that. When you start to grasp this, the concept of multitasking becomes so absurd. The time waste is ridiculous. And I will be willing to bet that most of you are not on 2 or 3 projects. You're on 4, 5, or 6 projects at work. And if you are on 4, 5, or 6 projects at work, you are missing like 50, 60, 70% of your time is in task switching back and forth, because people are tapping on your shoulder and asking you a question. And, can you answer this over here? And can you answer that over there? Can you help me with this and help me with that and help me with this? Now, that's pushing it to an extreme, I know, because on a typical day, you will probably only work on 3 or 4 projects at a time. But still, 3 or 4 projects at a time is still the loss of 30 to 50% of your productivity. And that's just complete waste. If I could go to, if you're a CEO, and I could tell you, I can guarantee you 30 to 50% improvement in productivity in your organization immediately, one day, immediately. Would you take it? Would you take a 30 to 50% improvement? And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just need to focus. Focus on one thing. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. And then you can get that productivity back. Now, you think this is bad. Now it gets worse. How many of you work on a team where there are multiple people who are partially allocated? Imagine this then. You have person A who's 40% allocated to the project. So that means they're going to be working on it off and on during the days. So here's a week, and the green blocks are the times that obviously they're working on project A. You are on project A, they're on project A. They're 40% allocated because they're so important that they have to be on other things too. So they'll work to 4 hours on Monday, and then 3 hours on Tuesday, and then 2 hours on Wednesday, and then they'll work another 4 hours on Thursday and 3 hours on Friday. Sounds reasonable? Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Okay. Well, here's person number 2, and they're 50% allocated. So they're a lot more allocated to this project. Half their time is being spent on it. But as you can see, they're spending 4 hours a day on Monday, 4 hours a day on Tuesday. They spend 4 hours a day on Wednesday, 4 Thursday, and 4 Friday. So it's kind of broken up. They've got a meeting here, and they've got to do some a product review there. They're doing some other work on a different project over here, and they have to do some testing over there. They've got to fill out their TPS, whatever other reports that they're doing. This is how life works. If you're seeing this and you're in corporate America, you've lived this. If you're a business owner right now and your teams are doing this, hear me. Listen to this. Now you've got another person who's 20% allocated. Okay. Here, 2 hours there, 2 hours there, 2 hours there. That's great. Default. What? Okay, hopefully my Yeti is back to working. I hope you can hear me still. So now let's think about this. If these 3 people are supposed to collaborate, how much time do they get to collaborate? Well, let me see if this actually shows it. Oh, yeah, here it is. The only places where they line up are here and here on these orange spots. So of those 3 people, you can have 2 hours of collaboration. 2. That's it. Because they're all partially allocated. Now, there's ways you can go about optimizing this to fix it. You could say that a 40% allocated person works the first 40% of their day on project A, the next 40% on B, C, D. But that gets really complicated really fast when you have 15 projects and you have, 50 people, 60 people, 100 people. You just can't do it. The math doesn't work. So this model, which is everywhere, this is the matrix model of staff allocation. They call them resources. I call them people. The matrix allocation of people on multiple projects does not work. And it is why you are so freaking slow. If you are a small business, don't fall into this thinking. You learned this in business when you had your other jobs. Don't bring it with you into your business. You need to be smarter in your business. You need to give people full allocation to one thing at a time. Should I go into this one? Yes, I should. Yes, I should. All right. Now, this is another way of looking. I'm just beating you up on multi-project assignments because I don't want you to ever do it again. Focus on one thing at a time. Here's a team, and let me take a look here. Got to do some counting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then they recycle back again. So this is a group of 12 projects. So these are all individual projects. And this little orange piece, I was very, very careful to try and make that little orange spot right there be just 20%. So when you're switching between these projects, it's just a 20% task switch cost. So this is what life looks like. You have people who are working on this and that. This is your whole organization, your whole department. Work on this and that and 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 this and that. And they're always thrashing between projects. And this is optimistic. This isn't given this last sheet here, right? This is just assuming that they can move back and forth as a large group. So now what happens is you get, what happens if you were to actually take all of those pieces of work? So you see let me erase. How do I erase? Discard annotations. No, I want to go back to this. Okay, here we go. If you were work, this piece of work, oh, come on. Pen, 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 this piece of work, this piece of work, this piece of work, this piece of work, and bring them all down here and do them all at the same time. Just take one project and get it to done instead of mishmashing it up and getting it piece by piece by piece. Then % task switch, and then the next one would get done. That one, and then that one. And you get the idea. I'm not going to make it all messy. And then you'd have a 20% task switch. So what happens? Overall, you get to see this much saved time. This whole end space is saved time. It's about 20%. It's not exactly 20% because you've had some task switching costs in here. But maybe it's 18%. Still, if you imagine you have a team of 20 people and each of those people costs you in a fully loaded cost maybe $200,000 per month. $200,000 annually. That is a really big number. And now you got 20% of that time back. That's serious. Green project, that end project down there, the save time for the other projects. What about the black project or navy blue? It would have ended here, and we've now made it end here. So if these were months long, if each one was a month, this is, I can't do all the math on that, but here's, well, sure I can. No, I can't do it. Here. You've moved from here all the way back to there. That is months and months and months and months. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 50 months, something like that, back in time. Now, why don't people do this? This makes such perfect sense. Why don't people actually do this? The reason is fear. Totally fear, because this person with the green project here at the end, they have to trust that you're actually going to get to them. And because we've used this top model for so long, they don't trust that you're going to get to them, because this is a model that is designed to come in late. It's a system that is actually optimized for coming in late, which is insane. But we do it all the time because of fear. This person with this green project says, well, hell, at least they're working on it. At least I know they're doing something with my project. It's not just waiting in limbo, and it might get cut. It might not happen. But they have their organizations have a history of Most organizations have a history of not beating their timelines. They have a history of going late. So it takes some self-discipline, it takes trust, and it takes an attitude of experimentation. And so that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. Dang, it's been a half hour of training. I hope you like this as much as I like giving it. I love teaching this kind of stuff. So if you liked it, please like it down below. If you, I should have said, if you, I don't know how to get, I still need to figure out how to get notifications on this. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But if you liked it, please like it, and give lots of thumbs up. If you're watching the replay, please put hashtag replay and lots of comments, because the more comments that you put on a video, the more people will get to see it, because Facebook algorithm likes that. It will share it more with more people. So help me help you. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you, and I will talk with you again later. Bye. Share end meeting.